main programming item. We have two of the candidates running for City Council of Angels Camp here tonight. Betty could not make it tonight, and she sent a letter which I'm going to have our Vice President, Sherry Smith, read to you. And she's sorry she can't make it, but today is Columbus Day, and being a true Italian, it states it all in her letter. So, Sherry, do you want to read Betty's letter before we start?
Welcome and thank you for being here. It is with pleasure that I read this letter for Mrs. Raggio in her absence. Dear Bob Maneri, ACBA members, friends, and guests. First, I apologize for not being with you this evening. Today is Columbus Day, a day celebrated by many Italians, myself included. Long before this date was selected for the candidates' night, I was committed to the planning and carrying out of today's festivities. I did, however, want to give you some background information about myself and some of the issues that I feel are important to the city. My name is Betty Raggio, and I'm a longtime resident of Angels Camp. Over the years, I have witnessed many changes to the city, some good, some questionable, but it still remains a great place to live. My years serving as a trustee on the Mark Twain Elementary School District Board was one of my civic involvements that I have enjoyed over the years, giving me many insights to the position I am now seeking on the Angels Camp City Council. Currently, I am a council member of the Figlide Italia for 5 years, 2 years as president, and have been serving for the past 5 years as a member and treasurer of St. Patrick's Helping Hands outreach program. We are all aware of the major issues facing the city: infrastructure, economy, development, and they will not be resolved overnight. The use of long-range planning and sound fiscal management policies by the City Council, working in close alliance with the business community and the citizens to draw from their knowledge and expertise, are essentials in solving these problems. I would appreciate your vote and your support. I will endeavor to carry out the best interests of the City of Angels and all of its citizens. I welcome any questions or comments to you, your members, or the audience, and any may have. Please feel free to call me anytime. My phone number is 736-4356. Thank you, Betty. Would you like me to answer questions on her behalf tonight?
Thank you, Sherry. And now, what we're doing here tonight is we're going to let the candidates give a 3-minute bio on themselves. And I'm going to start in alphabetical order, which of course is George and then Rick. And then I have 5 questions that were prepared by the Angels Camp Business Association. They'll have 3 minutes to answer each of those questions, and I'll go in alternate order, just like we did last time. And I have a red light, yellow light. Yellow light means that you have 2 minutes are up, and they have a minute to go. Red light means I'd like you to stop. And cooperate with me, please, because I can turn off the mic. So I'll have the light. I have the light right now. So at this time, I will bring out the lights, as I did last time. Oh. See, yellow, red, tan.
Where's the big one?
That's on the front porch.
All right.
And then after the questions that we have for you, then I'll open up to the audience in the same way. And try to keep your questions in the audience about Angels Camp. Let's not go out to what Murphy's has done or any other place has done. Let's try to keep it in our own neighborhood here in Angels Camp. I appreciate that. So George, I'm going to start out with you. I'm going to hand you the mic. And let me hear about your bio here.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that came here this evening to hear Rick and I share our views and what our candidacy is about. Unlike last Saturday night, which I think was a poor time to have a candidates debate. Rick and I were there, and there were 21 members, 21 folks in the audience. I got to brag a little. 15 of them were folks that are supporting me. So you can figure out the rest. Anyway, my name is George Fry. Pardon me, Steve. What did you say?
I said, holy moly.
Okay.
I can, are we going to start contradicting each other right away?
Well, I was speaking, you interrupted.
Unbelievable.
Thank you. As I started to say, my name is George Fry. I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was raised in Gig Harbor, Washington until age 14. At age 14, my family, my dad worked for the United States Navy. He's a U.S. Navy veteran of World War II. And so we moved to Guam, the island of Guam in the South Pacific. And I went to high school and I went to the University of Guam. I graduated there in 1968. I'm one of, my mother had an 8th grade education and my father had a 10th grade education. But after they started raising us and the last of my brothers were in school, 1st grade, my mother went back to school, got her college diploma, got her master's in library science. My mother has been my mentor all of my life. My mother is Boston Irish Catholic. I likewise am Boston Irish Catholic. My father was born and raised in Pennsylvania. He's Pennsylvania Dutch Amish. And he's half that and half Cherokee Indian. My grandfather was a Archel Baptist minister and a farmer. My father is one of 12 siblings. My mother is one of 4. And my mother was the oldest. My dad was in the middle of the pack. So, while I lived on Guam, I worked on my first campaign when I was 16 years old on the naval base. There were 4,000 houses. I got my start by the election of our first Catholic president, John F. Kennedy, when I was 14 years old. When I saw his speech on TV in January 20th, 1961, and the first part, which rarely anybody says, but he said, "My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." After he was elected, the Catholic school I went to Catholic schools my entire life. My dad worked 7 days a week to make sure that all 4 of us boys went to Catholic schools. And after the election, the Catholic school I was attending closed down the following day to celebrate that momentous day. It was that speech in January 1961 that set in my mind volunteerism and community development for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Okay, Rick. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for showing up. I was born in a little log cabin in Illinois. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I got mixed up. I was born and raised in Aptos, California. Grew up there until I moved up here in 1993. Married 32 years to my wonderful wife, Kelly, and my son, who's now at the University of, let's see, what is it? UCLA, that's what he did. I came up here to run a business. Had the opportunity to purchase a business. I did so and have done so for the last 17 years. I understand what it is to run business. I understand what it is to have the burden of making payroll, of being responsible for other people besides myself. It's a tough go. My background is in economics. I graduated from the University of Santa Clara in 1979. I have many experiences in life. I'm not one that has gone to a lot of different meetings. I've been busy trying to make a business successful. I really enjoy Angels Camp. have a great love for Angels Camp, and that is why I'm running for this office. I see that we need leadership here, and I feel that I bring to the table leadership that will be welcomed to the City Council. Thank you.
And now I'll start, let's start this one with Rick. Walking in the historic downtown district, I have noticed a lot of empty storefronts, even an empty hotel. What do you think the city can do to fill this area up and bring new businesses to Angels Camp?
Thank you, Bob. First and foremost, we have to see this economy turn around. We're in a recession that hopefully we're coming out of. Some people say we are, some say we're not. I'm not sure we are. That being said, everybody has the same issues when it comes to businesses leaving town, trying to recruit new businesses. We need to go out and look at businesses that are viable. And I know our branding team has been working feverishly on doing just that, working on a plan that's going to get people and businesses to Angels Camp. And I welcome that. The problem is we have to have businesses that are going to be viable. And viable, what I mean is we can't just bring in businesses that are going to fail. That is a slippery slope that we just do not want to find our city in. So we have to look at that. We have to look at the possibility of redevelopment downtown. Like I said at the last debate I was in, redevelopment brings up a lot of issues, and we have to look at those issues and decide is there too many pitfalls for a city? Can we survive? Can we survive a redevelopment program downtown? Do the people here in Angels Camp want to redevelop? Do we want to keep it the way it was? I know one thing that happens is if we run today like we ran it yesterday, we're going to run it the same way tomorrow, and nothing's ever going to get done. So I would be a proponent to going after businesses that are going to be viable to the downtown. And it's not just the downtown, it's all of Angels Camp. I know how to turn left when I get to the stop sign up there. I know there's another part of Angels Camp, and I appreciate it dearly. But we do have to keep the historic legacy of the downtown, and that would be my goal.
About a minute if you want to go. George, the same question to you. Do you need it read again?
No, I haven't. Thank you, Bob.
Filling up the businesses downtown. Let me just tell you a little bit about my business background. After graduating from the University of Guam, I came to Los Angeles and got hired by Sears Roebuck & Company in their executive management program. 6 months later, I got drafted and I spent 2 years in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam conflict, and I am a Vietnam veteran. I came back, of course I got my job back. The store manager was a Marine sergeant who had been at Guadalcanal, and he really supported the veterans. So I worked at Sears, and I worked from 1968 to 1977, so 9 years. And during that period of time, I had different volume departments. I started out in a department that was a couple $100,000 a year and had 6 employees. By the time I had left Sears in 1977, I was selected to run the Sears Automotive Center in the brand new Westminster Mall in Westminster, California, Orange County. I hired 6 salespeople, 6% commission, no base salary. 4 parts people, 2 back shop people, 2 service writers, 1 back shop supervisor, 55 mechanics, and a 24-bay operation. I was the youngest auto center manager in the Los Angeles group of 27 stores. I'm not bragging about it. I just want you to know about my business acumen. and I was very successful. They budgeted me to do $500,000 the first year the store was open. I did $1.5 million. The following year I did $2 million, and the following year I did $2.5 million. I longed to move to a small town. Bill Nuttall was my friend growing up across the street on the island of Guam. We've been friends for 40 years, over 40 years. And his parents, they moved to San Andreas. And when they moved to San Andreas in 1968, I came to visit them. And having grown up in Gig Harbor, Washington, in a town of less than 1,000 people, I knew I needed to come home. And so finally, in 1977, I came home. And I've been here 32 years. And I have volunteered in numerous commissions, businesses, volunteer organizations. Look at my resume and the blue package that's being delivered throughout the city of Angels Camp. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Oh.
You'll have time later on.
All right, thank you, Bob.
This one will go to George first. The water and sewage seems to be brought up at every city council on every agenda. Do you think this is an overkill, or do you have any ideas how we can bring the cost and the system under control?
My favorite question, without a doubt, this is what I have campaigned on since the end of April. I have attended 71 Angels Camp type meetings in that 5-month period of time. I have been in front of the city council. They all know, they've all seen me there. Many of you in this room have seen me there, talking about the exorbitant price that we're paying for water and for sewer. And the commercial businesses are really taking a beating as well. To solve this problem, I think that we need to continue to roll back the prices. I thank Mayor Lynch for all that he's done towards that effort, and I have supported him 100%. And I've been at each and every city council meeting talking about the expense of sewer and water. And I'm going to watch this red light. We need to reduce the rates, like I said, and we have a $6 million water reserve surplus. The water plan that was approved in 2002, everything's been completed in that plan except some very, very minor things that are less than $100,000. Millions of dollars were spent in that water plan on grants. So, I believe that we as sewer and water ratepayers have been gouged for many years. I think that the people who were on the city council in the past, they did the absolute best job they could do at the time, given the foresight that they had. But things have gotten out of hand. So the city council finally voted 4-0 to reduce your water bill $10.56. I applauded them for that, and I shared with them at the city council meeting that that is only a drop in the bucket. So I'm going to work very hard to take care of making those changes. I want to make a comment regarding hookup rates for sewer and water. Hookup rates for sewer and water are as follows. If you live in Angels Oaks, you pay $660 if you have a lot there and you want to build a house. You pay $660 for water hookup. You pay $670 for a sewer hookup. If you live in Greenhorn Creek, you pay $4,000 for a water hookup and $4,400 for a sewer hookup. The rest of the City of Angels Camp pays $9,200 for a water hookup and $9,300 for a sewer hookup.
Thank you, George.
I'll continue the rest of the story.
Rick?
Thank you. Regarding sewer and water, I think the system is broken. George was very polite to say that somewhere down the line we made mistakes. But that is just so prevalent now and obvious that mistakes were made at some point. And I know that the current council is looking hard to find out where those mistakes were made and how they can be fixed so we can get to a basis that's more inclined with the town of Murphy's, the town of San Andreas. I mean, just look at anywhere around us. Our rates are just incredibly high. But to fix that, a lot smarter people than myself would love to just wave a wand and say, you know what, tomorrow your rates are going to be lower. And boy, we'd be happy. But I realize after getting involved here with city politics and trying to run for this office, that it's not that easy. There's a lot of considerations that you must take. This year, for example, there's $305,000 that has to be budgeted just for 2 documents completed by a consultant to go to the state to say this is our water plan and this is what we're going to do. $350,000 or $305,000. I mean, to me that just seems ridiculous. So, but this is stuff people don't realize that's part of state mandates with water and everything that's involved with that. So my goal would be to become as informed as I possibly can about what happened in the past so I can chisel away at what has been the past and start forming a new foundation and a new basis for our water and sewer rates. A good example was I went to a council meeting where they were trying to figure out the per gallon on commercial sewage. And it was so simple. The city engineer said, okay, we need $2 million. The amount of sewage this year was such and such. Okay, there's our price. And lo and behold, it was a 23% increase. And I was just stunned. I was sitting there going, okay, we're trying to conserve. We tell everybody that we need to conserve water, we need to conserve sewage, and people do that. But what happens? The government is going to charge you more per gallon. And that was quite a ruckus that went on that night. People were just in awe of that. The city council since then has come up with a great plan where the price per gallon on sewage is going to stay the same. Is that acceptable? Not in my mind. I think we should be trying to lower it some more. But just keep in mind that lowering those rates do not happen overnight. There's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of work that's involved. But we have to start somewhere, and I commend the council that's currently in place for doing that. And I will work feverishly on doing the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick will get this next question first. Now that we have the Grand Leadership Committee under control with our new logo and everything else, do you think we should start working on the name of the city to make it one name? Or should it be called Angels Camp, City of Angels, or Altaville? Rick?
Well, for me, that one's simple. It should be the City of Angels Camp. We should all be together. That is one thing that I'm really hoping that I can do as a city councilman is pull the people of Angels Camp together. Because when we're trying to solve some of these very difficult issues, we need to be united. We need to be united in our stand on the issues. Economic development, huge issue that has to be a united front. The branding committee, I'm a lot more informed on the branding committee now, and I have to say, it's a process that has to be done in terms of what we're going to do for our economic viability. We can't do it as separate entities. I just don't believe in that. I believe when I moved here believe I moved here 7 years ago. I moved into the City of Angels Camp. And that's the office I'm running for, is the City Council of Angels Camp. There should be no separation. I know that some people believe, and it's kind of a nostalgia thing, that we should keep it separate. You know, Altaville's Altaville, Angels Camp's Angels Camp. But for the good of the city and the good of where we're trying to head, it should be all one city. It should be Angels Camp, the city of. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
Well, I have a minor in history, and I'm a history buff, American history. I came to this wonderful county in 1968 and discovered a lot about the history of this county, and specifically Angels Camp. In 1848, the Angels brothers came to town, and there was a camp here, and it was called Angels Camp. I don't know why the city council in the past changed it to the City of Angels Camp. It's Angels Camp. It's always been Angels Camp. It should continue in perpetuity to be Angels Camp. With regard to economic development, in 1980, when I was working as a land use planner for Calaveras County Land Use Planning Department, I started the first Calaveras County Economic Development Company. I got the support from Senator John Garamendi. He came up and worked with us to put that company together. And we had a board of directors, and I served as a vice president. Unfortunately, as time went on, and I moved on to go to work for the state in a job that I really wanted to do all my life, and that was work with kids. I'm a retired state parole agent for the California Youth Authority, and I've spent my life since 86, excuse me, working for the California Youth Authority. I retired in 1995. So, unfortunately, economic development fell on flat. I've been talking with Larry Koch in Tuolumne County. He's an economic development director for the county. They hired him about 6 months ago. He came from Livingston. He did a hell of a job there. And he's working on, and I'm working with him, and I'm working with Diane Gray of the Chamber of Commerce to develop a Sierra all across the foothills here, the three counties, an economic development organization where we can all help one another. I also have been working on the committee with Jack Bodine and several other people and Forrest to put on the second Economic Development Summit, which is going to be held on October 15th at Calaveras High School. Last year we had 185 people come to that Economic Development Summit, and we're hoping to get that many or more. The agenda is even much better this year, and yes, Craig Turco, Councilman, you will get a full report for the $1,000 that you guys are spending out of the city's coffers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. You're welcome, Greg.
I'll tell you, this microphone's getting a little hot. Okay, now to our last question. How do you feel you can help in the city's government to improve it and bring more visitors to our city?
The Chamber of Commerce put on, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a member of Centennial Rotary here in Angels Camp. And the Chamber of Commerce put on a Small Business Association workshop, and Craig Turco was there in attendance, and Jack Bodine. And there were probably, I'm guessing 50 or 60 people in the room. Is that about right, Craig? Yeah. And it was a wonderful workshop. And the fellow who is in charge of the SBA in California, he works in the federal government. He's a retired Air Force officer and has worked in SBA for 20-some years, had his own business, so on and so forth. And what he said to us that day has stuck in my head ever since, and that is, when you bring people to town, make sure they spend all their money and make sure they go home with a smile on their face. And that's what I want to do in terms of that. Piggybacking on that, I'm working on a major conference to be held next fall here in Angels Camp, between 700 and 1,000 participants. If we get 700, it'll be a shot in the arm of almost $500,000 for the City of Angels Camp. It also will, with 2.5 times for every dollar that's spent in tourism, there's $2.5 spent in all the other things that are happening in town. Somebody might go to Bob Middleton's and buy a TV while they're here because he's got a good buy on it, because he has brand name. Or they might go to Oars, or they might go to the Caverns, or they might go gold painting, or the museum. It's limitless. So I've been working on this project since August 27th, and I will know more. Last year, the conference was, it's the National Empowerment Center out of Lawrence, Massachusetts, and Dr. Dan Fisher is head of it. He's a psychiatrist. And since I retired 15 years ago, I've done nothing but advocate for mental health clients. Locally here in the county and statewide, I was appointed by the governor in 1999 to the statewide Mental Health Planning Council. I'm leaving here after this debate to go to our quarterly meeting in Folsom. I'll be there until Friday. So anyway, they hold a National Alternatives Conference every year. It's coming back to California for the first time in 12 years. 1998 it was in Long Beach. Last year it was in Syracuse, New York, and I'm going to Omaha, Nebraska this year on the 29th for 4 days to finalize the plans. It is down to 3 choices: Angels Camp, Sacramento Marriott, and Oakland Marriott. And what I'm hoping is they'll come here where there's peace and tranquility and spend their money. When they come for a week.
Rick, you remember the question?
Thank you. What can I do for the city council? Well, I believe I bring a lot of experience, business experience to the city council. And I think anytime you have a city council, it's great to have diversity in that council. I would bring, that part to the table. I believe I have a common sense approach to everything I do. I bring honesty, I bring integrity. That's what I can, put my hat on. Anybody that knows me knows that that's the type of person I am. I'm the person that if I tell you something, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it done. That's what I've done for, over 33 years now in business. There's no question that's too difficult. There's no situation that's too difficult. Because when you have to make a payroll and you have people that you have to support, you find ways of getting the job done. I've always been a guy that's going to get the job done. I think outside the box. I don't look at just the easy answers, because the easy answers, anybody can figure those out. It's looking beyond. It's knowing that the simple answer is not always the best fix. Think outside the box a little bit. And I believe I bring that to the city council. In terms of bringing people to Angels Camp, will continue to support the Business Bureau. I will continue to support the branding committee, because I think that we're going in the right direction there. As I said, I'm uncertain regarding redevelopment, but I want to listen. I want to learn more. I want to know if that's the right step that we need to take for Angels Camp. I know one thing: government does not create any jobs. Jobs that are going to be created by viable businesses that want to live in this area, bring their families to this area. That's what that's what we have to go after. I know there's been talk, and it's in the rumor mill that Columbia College would love to have a satellite area over here in Angels Camp. You know, I don't know where everybody sits on that, but that brings great jobs to our area. An expansion of Mark Twain Hospital over here would be a great idea. There's a lot of people here that are senior citizens that as they get older, they'd like to have care a little bit closer to home. That's very important. Those are the type of jobs that people want. You know, the tourism is a wonderful thing, and it's been our lifeblood for a lot of years. But it's time that we move beyond the tourism and make this a viable business city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you. And now I'd like to have the members of the audience stand up, and if they have questions for each one of you. Nobody in this room? Oh, okay. We'll go with Harold first. I saw that.
Okay, one thing I'd like to ask is stick in the question, answer my question and not go off on a tangent.
Okay.
Because
That's fair.
I'm seeing that. Fair enough. Okay, do you believe the city council has a role to play in developing an environment favorable to business? And the second part of the question is, what do you think the city should do to promote the local entrepreneurial spirit in business?
I absolutely believe the city council plays a role in that. We are the ones that will make decisions based on what's going to be best for the city of Angels Camp. And as a cumulative group, if 3 out of 5 people believe that that's the right way to go, that's the way we're going to go. I believe it's the right way to go. I think you have to have that type of support from the city council. We all represent everybody in Angels Camp. I want to see a viable business climate, and I would be very supportive of anything I could do on the city council to make businesses come to our area. How do we do that? I think we have to provide incentives for businesses. We have to provide incentives for people to go out and find those businesses that are going to be successful here in Angels Camp. Just having businesses come to Angels Camp is not the answer. It's never an answer just to say, hey, come here and we hope you make it. We have to try to put a climate together and a friendly environment that says, you know what, we're going to help you out. We're going to help you out through those tough times. We're going to be supportive. We want you here. And I feel that's the one thing the city council can do for business. Lowering water rates, lowering sewer rates. I might be getting a little bit off topic, but that's real critical. That's real critical to business now. Why are businesses leaving? Because they can't pay their rent. They can't pay their sewer and water, and they can't be viable. So we have to recruit viable business, and I'd be all for that.
Thank you. George?
Thank you, Bob.
Absolutely. The city, Angels Camp City Council has an extremely important role in helping the success of this town we live in, this historic town we live in. One of the things that needs eventually to happen is the North Trunk Line. The North Trunk Line is on the other end of town in the Altaville area. And once that goes in, if we, as responsible city council members, develop the land use growth in that area in a responsible manner, the growth is going to come, the good developers are going to come, and they're going to pay. We're not going to have to cut deals with them like has happened in the past. That doesn't make the past council members bad people. And when I talked about Greenhorn Creek and I talked about Angels Oaks, those were agreements that were made, for better or for worse. The solution for the rest of the folks in Angels Camp who own parcels that would like to build on and can't afford over $18,000 in hookup fees is to take those two figures of Angels Oaks and Greenhorn Creek, put them together, and that's the charge for sewer and water hookups for the rest of the property owners in Angels Camp. In 1981, I completed a master's program at Cal Berkeley in land use planning. I spent 9 years of my life in land use planning. I've done every kind of land use planning you could do. I wrote all the staff reports from 1986 to from 1977 to 1986 for LAFCO, Local Agency Formation Commission. It was under the Calaveras County Planning Department at that time. I'm infinitely familiar with all of that. I'm infinitely familiar with CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. I'm not always happy about all aspects of it, but I'm infinitely familiar with that. I'm infinitely familiar with the Subdivision Map Act. Like I said earlier, I've attended 71 meetings since the end of April, 28 hours of budget hearings. Both of my opponents who I recently met Rick at Starbucks and for the first time. He and I just go in different circles doing different things in the community. But both of my opponents, Betty has attended 10 meetings total. Rick has attended 5 meetings total. So you folks need to know that, and you need to read the information that I've provided for you in the blue bags that's at your home. Thank you.
Okay, we had a question over here?
Right here.
I have a question that's two-part. First of all, does the city council have any influence on the police department? And if so, what would you do to make the police department as a whole more friendly towards the community of Angels Camp?
Okay, do you want to ask the second question too now? Or you want to hold off? Oh, that's,
Well, as a retired peace officer, if you were at the last city council meeting, I spoke there and shared with the city council my disheartening comments regarding the cutting of one police officer here in Angels Camp. Yes, the city council does have influence. And yes, something needs to be done. And yes, I've been talking to the citizens. I've been talking to business owners. They have approached me and I have approached them during the last 5 months discussing the fact that the police department isn't friendly. I've also talked to, the reason why I say this, don't shake your head because I'm not finished with it.
I'll shake my head anytime I want. Go ahead.
That's fine, that's fine. What I wanted to share with you is that I have talked with the police officers and they agree that they haven't been as friendly as they should be and that they are going to continue to work on that. And I have talked with merchants and merchants have told me that. And I don't know why the merchants would lie to me about that. There's no advantage for them to lie about it. So, and I've talked to the chief and we're working to make that happen so that even though we only have 7 officers times 24 hours a day times 7 days a week, they're going to get out of their cars, they're going to stop at the businesses, they're working in the schools with the service officer, they're doing a lot of things with minimal amount of coverage. And I know about that kind of stuff. I know what it's about to go on calls. I worked as a parole agent on the streets in many localities, my last being 4 years in Bakersfield. And all the gang members, their families wanted them out of LA. So what they do, they moved them to Bakersfield. And to try to get backup from the highway patrol or the sheriff's department or the any of the other law enforcement agencies is a real challenge. And it's a challenge in a big city of 200,000 people like Bakersfield, but it's a real challenge in a city of somewhere around 4,000 or 5,000 people. So I support that, and I'm going to help the city council find a way to get that officer back. Thank you.
Rick?
Thanks, Bob. I believe the city council has an important role in exactly what you asked, because as a citizen of this city, I'm appalled half the time by what I consider an unfriendly police force. I was told, or I wasn't told personally, but I believe the community of Angels Camp was told when our new police chief came in, it was going to be a different type of police officer in a different management way in the city of Angels Camp. And I got to tell you, I'm absolutely appalled that when I'm in my driveway picking weeds and an Angels Camp PD comes by and they look over at you like you're robbing the house, it absolutely fries me. It absolutely fries me, as it does probably a lot of people sitting here in this room. They have a very, very tough job. I never want to minimize that. You know, it's the way it is. If you check and see, there's a lot more officers that are being put in harm's way today than ever before. So I really feel for the police officer and the decisions they have to make. But I believe you can do it with a smile on your face. I've never seen a smile indicate weakness. Or I should say, don't let my smile make you think I'm weak, because that's not the case. I would like to see a better relationship, heck, with the policemen and all the government officials. I mean, go down to the county. I know that's a little off topic, but wow, do you feel welcome there? Heck no. Heck no. You know, and I hate to see, I don't want to see the City of Angels Camp like that. You know, we're the ones that pay the bills. We should get what we want. And as a city councilman, I would welcome meeting with the chief and discussing this, having groups get together and figure out how it is. You realize you have a lot of young officers, you know, that are trying to make their mark. They went to school, they went to the academy, and that's how they're trained. There's not a lot of training to be the laughing policeman. But we need that in this community. We really need that in this community. I think that would be a real help. And regarding the officer that was let go, I want to tell you, that is a very tough situation. And I felt for everybody on the city council for having to make that decision. That is not an easy decision, and it can't be minimized. And, you know, if I have to make that decision, I know I'll make it, and I'll make it for the best of the city. But when you don't have the money, and you can't figure out where to get the money to pay for that, something has to be done. So apparently the money is not there to have an extra officer. Now, can we find money when the economy comes around? I sure as heck hope so, because I do support the police. I would just like to see them be a little bit more friendly.
In defense of the police department, number one, I agree, we should get the other officer back. Number two, I have never been stopped for drunk driving, weeding my lawn, or any other kind of ticket. But my dog barked twice, and one of my neighbors complained. And I had two officers come to my house, were absolutely wonderful. Officer McKeon and Officer Scarborough. And we chatted all about it. Now that's a simple little silly thing. But I was not aware that when my dog barked at a squirrel or whatever, it was bothering this one neighbor, and that's another story. It doesn't matter. I've never had any problems. They've always been very, when they drive by, they wave and so on and so forth. I am not a business person, so I don't know what goes on down there. But I think they're getting a bad rap. You know, okay, you can't smile on that kind of job. No, I don't have a question. I'm just commenting that.
Okay, I'd like to have questions. I thought this was
Well,
leading to
okay,
a
the
question.
question is, what is the problem downtown with the business people? What are their complaints?
Well,
Okay, this is good.
Okay,
But that's not good.
that's really not a question for either. They're not businessmen downtown, so they really can't answer
No,
that
but he
question.
said, Rick said, and maybe even George said, that there were people downtown that did not feel the police department was friendly.
Okay,
I'd like to know what
Neither one of
that
us
is.
said downtown.
no.
We said business people.
All right, business people, I don't care downtown, uptown,
Yeah,
midtown.
and I've never had a problem
Okay.
with the police department.
Okay.
And it may be in part because I'm a retired peace officer, and we all know each other.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Steve, you got a question back there?
Yes, I think everyone in this room has something in common. They're starving to have a politician that they can trust. And I met Rick about 7 years ago. I was here a couple of years before him. And
Is this a question, Steve?
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
question.
okay.
And this is about integrity, okay, of the two politicians. And when Rick decided to run, he came over to me and asked me if I would support him. I had time to work on his campaign. And I said I didn't have time to work on his campaign, but I would hold judgment until the two debates were through before I would make a commitment. Now tonight, I heard Mr. Fry make a couple of comments that really, in my mind, affect integrity. I was with a group of 11 people at the debate at Red Hart. None of us 11 were polled about which way we were voting. So consequently, I have a problem with him being able to determine that 15 out of 21 people were voting for him. Secondly, when I got home tonight from being gone all day, my wife showed me this packet that Mr. Fry had dropped at our house. And he commented that that Paul Raggio appointed him as the heir apparent to the city council, which completely confuses me why Betty's running. I had a hard time believing, I didn't know Paul as long as Mr. Fry might have, but I knew him well enough to know that I think Betty took preference over anybody else that was around other than his kids. So we had a bad experience 4 or 5 years ago about a person ran for city council and became a politician overnight. I don't want that to happen in this city because we have important things to decide. But I would like Mr. Fry to explain to me how these two contradictions can be so apparent to me, and he takes them that lightly.
Okay, yeah, I understand it. Rick is going to go first. I want to keep this one short, though, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The question is, one question was,
How did he decide that there was 15 out of 21 people voting for him in the last debate when none of us were polled? And consequently, did Paul want him to run or Betty?
okay.
Excuse me, I do have a prayer.
This is not asking Rick the same questions. We're trying to keep it, you can ask that question later on, I think.
Yes, I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay, let me go that into the room, okay? Who's got the question?
I do.
Okay. What's the question?
Okay, my question is, as a retail owner in the town, in the city, Bob and I have had various conversations of how would you solicit other retail business to Angels Camp? Because other retail business is going to benefit all of us. If people are coming here to shop, we need to know who's the one that goes and approaches somebody to fill an empty space in Frogtown Plaza? Who's the one who, to fill a space in downtown Angels Camp? Because sales tax is going to benefit our city. Shoppers are going to benefit our shopping center, any other business. Even though we're Angels Camp and we're a very small community, any viable business, there are so many outstanding or what would you call, smaller communities that shop in Angels Camp, whether it's Copperopolis, Sheep Ranch, Road, Flat. We do a lot of business in Valley Springs. How do we get people to come to Angels Camp for not only a refrigerator or a Hallmark card? I mean, what else can we do, and who is the one that's going to attract those businesses to say, you need to come to Angels Camp, we need a Baskin Robbins, we need an ice cream parlor, we need a shoe store. But it has to be where it's not going to be drawn Angels Camp, but almost countywide. So who is the one that's going to solicit those businesses?
Okay, that's the question. Who's going to solicit the businesses to come here? I think she's talking about like a Baskin Robbins, Applebee's, or whatever.
Well, as a city council person, I would be, in favor of doing that. And then we would have to direct staff to go out and either provide incentives for commercial developers, people in the real estate business, commercial real estate, to go find those type of people. We need, as you just stated, we need all the stores to be filled with the essentials that we need in the city. I've lived here not near as long as you guys have, but it just absolutely torques me that I cannot buy certain things in a decent distance from my home. And then I hear that our city's in, financial trouble, and every city's in financial trouble, but I have to go spend my money in Sonora or Modesto or Jackson, and it just absolutely drives me crazy. I'd love to be able to go buy a pair of underwear. Sounds crazy, but I'd love to have a place to buy a pair of underwear. How about even some socks? I mean, let's just get crazy here. So I think you have to set up meetings with people that are a lot more knowledgeable than myself. I'm the worker guy. I'm the guy that's going to facilitate what it's going to take to get people to do that work. Do I have experience doing that? Recruiting business? No, I don't. But I know what will make a business viable. I understand the economics of business. I understand what it's going to take for them to come in, be successful, and provide meaningful jobs. Because unless another, huge box stores, and that's always the scary thing here. That is something I want to get right on the record that I am not in favor of. I am not in favor of that. I'm in favor of stores, even satellite stores of that nature that provide the services and provide the essentials that we need. Do we want to be huge? No. Do we want growth? Absolutely. Do we want intelligent growth? Yes, within the plan of our city. That's what's going to make it viable. We have a general plan. Now, there's a lot of issues with the general plan that a lot of us have no idea about. Okay, is our infrastructure good enough for this? We don't know. I don't know right now. I can't tell you 100% if our infrastructure is better. Infrastructure is a buzzword that scares the heck out of people because it costs a lot of money. Infrastructure is huge. But if we're going to get to where we want to be and not stay where we're at, we're going to have to address that stuff. And I feel that if I get elected to the city council, I'll be an advocate of doing just that.
Thank you. Just to let the audience know here, there are bright lights shining in, so it's hard to see out there. So if I ignore you, it's not that I'm not ignoring you, it's just that it's tough to see out there. Go ahead, David.
It was even tougher last Saturday night, huh, Rick? We couldn't see anybody out in the audience. Economic development, bringing additional retail. Susan and Bob were born and raised in Angels Camp. They come from old-line families. I've known Bob a lot longer than I've known Susan. I first met Bob in 1968 when he was 11 years old, and Hank had him working in the store there, and he's worked there all of his life. Susan, and they got married and they joined together. I have absolute concern for the concerns you have about retail and the need to bring retail here. I'm not looking for a big box store. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been talking with Larry Cope over who's in charge of the economic development in Tuolumne County. And we have been discussing a small size kind of target operation that operates in the Midwest and would like to come out to the West Coast. So Larry and I we've had several discussions regarding that. And we all need to shop local. Bob and Susan know that I shop in their store. I shop in all the local stores. I try very little to go out of the county and buy anything. If it's not available, then I'm forced to do that. But I'm hoping that we'll bring business here. And that's what the chamber has been working on as well. And we all need to join together to make that happen. And, I consider myself a worker bee. I'm not in this because somebody says, well, you're going to be a politician. I'm not a politician. I stake my record on my action. I'll give you a quick story, very quick. At the branding leadership meeting last week on Monday, Forrest said to a group of us, and there was 22 people at the meeting. I'm not a member of the branding leadership. Those appointments were made by the mayor of the city council, and there's 22 slots. But I've been attending the branding leadership committees. I've gone to 4 of them. Not a lot, but that's 4 more than my opponents. And Ann said at that meeting, we need to do something about the blight across from Bob and Susan's store, the Angels Camp Mobile Home Park. After that 3-hour meeting this morning, which was a wonderful, successful meeting, a lot got accomplished. I went home and I called up the mobile home park and I said, could you give me the name and phone number of the owner of the park? And they said, sure. So I called up Robert, I forgot his last name. Anyway, he goes by Robert. He's from Oakdale. He owns several mobile home parks. Matt Ward used to own the mobile home park. It's a really good business, believe it or not. Their cash flow is $10,000 a month that they make. It has a 50% vacancy rate. I counted all of the spaces and then counted the ones that were full. And it's half full. So I called him up and I said, Robert, I have a proposition for you. My name is George Fry. You don't know me. I'm running for city council. And if you want to know more about this story, come and look at the 2 booklets here on the table.
Thank you. Ann, you got a question?
Yes. You are each running, you're both running for a position that's only 12 months long. What do you actually think you might be able to accomplish since there's such a steep learning curve? And if elected, do you intend to run again next year?
Do you understand the question?
George first.
Well, I certainly hoped to accomplish some things. I hope to get the water rate down and the sewer rate down. I hope to get the reduction in the cost for hookups for the rest of the city of Angels Camp residents. Get it down to the figure of the 2, which would be $4,600 and $5,000 as opposed to $9,200 and $9,300. I'm hoping, and I think that what I was talking about earlier about the mobile home park, I'm hoping to start a program called the Mod Squad. And it goes around, gets donations, and gets people, finds out blight spots, have a number to call, figure out what it's going to cost. And getting back to the mobile home park, I've talked with J.S. West and Jeanette, and I've talked with Calaveras Lumber and my longtime friend Mike Fullaway. He and I spent 12 years going to the Reno Air Races for 4 days, along with Dave Hitchcock, Aspen Architects. And I asked them to sharpen their pencils. They came up with a price of just under $1,300 for materials to build that 200-foot fence. And I explained to the owner that it would be a sound barrier, it would keep the children out of the streets so that they're not up on the highway, that he could improve his occupancy rate by cleaning it up and not being able to see it. It would give privacy, and it would help the entire city. And he's meeting with me on October 18th. He's coming up. He's in Mississippi for a week, and that's the reason why he can't be with me right now. But he will be here, and we will be talking about how we make that happen. And I want to do that with other things. I'm a worker bee. I've been a worker bee all my life. I don't care about taking credit. I just want to see things change.
Rick?
Thanks for the question, Ann. If I didn't think I could get something done in that year, I wouldn't be running. You know, what's the sense? I mean, I'm not here to be a politician. I'm here to get something done in the City of Angels Camp. I have a concern for Angels Camp. You know, I understand what commitment is and what hard work within that commitment is. I keep getting it bandied around tonight that, you know, Mr. Fry goes to 27,000 meetings. You know, and when I made the decision to run for city council, I was already committed to coaching football at the high school, which, just to give you an idea of the time commitment that I have there, I would love to have gone to the meeting that was the other night, but you know, it's my job as a defensive coordinator at Bret Harte High School is to come up with a plan to play football every Friday night. Sometimes we do a good job, sometimes we don't, but I put in the effort, and I know what it takes to put in that effort. You know, just real quickly, Friday night we played in Escalon. As soon as I was done in Escalon, I drove down to Tulare to spend the night so I could make it down to the Rose Bowl in time to see my son play football at UCLA. Then spend the night there, come home, get home at 5:30 on Sunday afternoon, and then have meetings with my football coach until 12 o'clock last night. So I understand commitment. And when I take on this responsibility of being a councilman for the city, I understand the commitment it takes, and I will bide all my time and commit it to the council and commit it to all these meetings. But being realistic, when you're trying to run a life and have a business to run, you just can't go to every meeting. I mean, let's be real. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, what I'm going to have them do
Can we have
is...
that last question that she asked answered, please?
Oh, okay.
Would they, if elected,
Would-
will plan to run for
Will they run again?
That's a yes or no?
Yes or no?
Absolutely.
George?
It's a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now in closing, I'm going to have each one of them 2-minute closing remarks. I'm going to have George go first. 2 minutes on this one.
You have all the information about me. You have the blue packages. If you haven't received them yet, you will. I have a door-to-door campaign of 15 people. They're all sitting, half of them are here this evening. They're sitting over here at this table with my wife, Jana, my campaign manager, Pleasant Hill, Vera, Janice, Ron, Sharon, my webmaster. She is the brains of the outfit. Tillman, her husband. He's just been incredibly supportive. These people have worked their, you know what, off. And I thank you. I thank you for all that you did today to get ready for this evening. Yes, I need and want your vote. You can call me anytime. I'll meet you anywhere. I'm always at Starbucks Monday through Friday from 7:30 until 9. So if you want to meet there with a whole bunch of us old cronies that have been here for over 30 years, then come by. I'll even buy you a cup of coffee. In fact, there are coffee samples on all the tables. There are bubble samples if you have grandchildren or children. Take them home, let them have a good time. That's what life's about. So I want and need your vote, and I think if you use your conscience and let it be your guide, I don't think there's any question in your mind. One more thing to remember, you may be supporting somebody, but when you get in the booth, neither of the three of us candidates are going to be standing in that booth with you to see who you're voting for. So please vote your conscience. Thank you very much.
Rick?
Thank you again for everyone showing up tonight. It's great to have an opportunity to talk and express myself to this group of people. One thing that I didn't answer regarding Ann is I understand it's a steep learning curve. I would be naive not to understand that. And going to some of the meetings that I've gone to, I realize it's not as cut and dry and as black and white as we all think it is from the audience. One thing that propelled me to take on this task was I was tired of being a complainer. It's way too easy to complain, guys and ladies. We complain. Oh, this isn't getting done, this isn't getting done. So I finally dug my feet in the ground and said, you know what? I'm gonna take a shot at this because I believe I bring great experience, great leadership, and a sense of honesty and integrity that you will not match anywhere in this city. I feel confident of that. Can I do good things for this city? Absolutely. Can I do it in the first 12 months? I sure hope so, because I've always been able to do that, whatever I've done in life, wherever I've gone in life. I'm an achiever, and I've been successful, and I understand the plan to get that done. I don't want to talk about it anymore, I just want to get it done. So I appreciate when you guys go to the polls on November 3rd to consider me for City Council. You won't be disappointed. Thank you.
I'd like to thank both the candidates who are here and Betty for sending in her remarks. I think you both answered a lot of good questions tonight and got a lot of knowledge about yourselves to us. And in closing, if anybody here would like to get involved with that business association, please see me or one of the other directors that are here.